Restoring Men in History, a good one today. Charlie Kirk was on the Tucker Carlson tour. We watched a lot of it for you, and we pulled the best clips from Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson for you. And these topics are important. We have an election coming up, by the way. Make sure if you're in a swing state, you go vote and you bring people, because you are voting for the more free country on the Trump side than the Kamala Harris side, and the Constitution. Free speech is under attack from that side heavily. The Second Amendment's under attack. So you got to vote for the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution. Important that you pull that lever, I believe, for Donald Trump. Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, here we go. And we've pulled some of the best clips. This will probably divide this into about 5-6 parts. So we'll see how much we divide it. Here's part one.
Do not want to see the FBI get another building while moms and dads are being profiled at school board meetings. Steve Bannon is in federal prison, and Donald Trump is facing 700 years in federal prison. Why are Republicans giving the FBI a new building? So the people get it, but our leaders seem as if they don't care about what their voters think.
So you have seen all the political attacks on Steve Bannon and all the others, people going to jail. You've seen the attacks on pro-life people just sitting in the street. You've seen the attacks from the FBI on the Catholics. Now, what does all this mean? If you've got a bad child and your child does something repeatedly, right? It's a pattern. You identify a pattern. Your child takes a black magic marker and he draws on your best furniture. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to give that child more magic markers to draw over the furniture, or are you going to discipline the child and take away the markers, or in some other way discipline the child? You're going to discipline the child. Now, what do we do? Conversely, Mike Johnson, and this is the uniparty Republican Democrats over here versus Donald Trump, an independent, right? You know, he's his own man. What do? They fund the FBI in a brand new building, magnificent, beautiful. Maybe they're going to make it in gold. They might make it in gold, because they just reward bad actors, bad characters. Russian collusion, remember that? Spying on Catholics, going in the Catholic places and spying on them. So you don't reward the FBI for all these bad actions. You take away their funds. Most importantly, constitutionally, what? Police powers were retained by whom? The states. So what can you have of the FBI? We've got to steadily decrease its budget and then end it or wipe it, because it's unconstitutional. They never did an amendment to get it through. And from the beginning, by the way, people are saying just recently. No, it's not just recently. J. Edgar Hoover blackmailed people, and that organization with him at the top was not good. So here we go. You don't reward bad actors with a brand new building. In fact, you should put them in a very old building, right? Move them to a small old building where the desks are cramped and they have to work on top of each other. So some of them will resign and quit, right? Because police powers are for the states. And if those individuals want to serve, they can serve in the local police department or the sheriff's office, right? And allow the states to keep the police powers. Don't have the federal government and some federal police force. That's unconstitutional. That never would have been ratified. So this is very important that we continue to decrease the budget of the FBI continually and put them in a small building, maybe in the middle of nowhere. But what could they be? We've got the TBI here, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. So you already have that. It's a duplicate. You have that in other states, and they can if they want. So here's the thing. What do we need to do? Decrease, 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 decrease. But by the way, we're in debt, massive debt. So decreasing it will help you have a more free life too, correct? You'll have a more free life. We've got to end the bureaucracy, the administrative state, the unconstitutionality, and this debt and spending. So this will be good for you as Americans. Let's go on to clip 2.
And says, wait a second, you guys want a border wall and you don't want millions of people coming across your border. Why has Mitch McConnell been in Washington, D.C. for 40 years and we don't have a border wall? Why is it that Republicans have been running this place for so long and you guys have these concerns that are constantly ignored? Why is it that we send our factories overseas to foreign nations and yet we have trillions of dollars to go colonize Iraq and Afghanistan and try to have gender reassignment surgeries in Syria or whatever the State Department is interested in? And you're correct. What we're experiencing over the last decade, in my opinion, is the revealing that the founders' constitutional system has not been around for quite some time. that the consent of the governed is a mirage. We have these things called elections, and that you vote for the lesser of two evils, which you should all do, but then they actually don't do what you want them to do when you send them to DC. Trump changed all of that.
So what has the establishment shown you? They are more concerned with themselves and their welfare than yours by their actions. They've done it with their actions. Most Americans want a secure border. Most Americans still want America to be a nation, and we must be a nation with borders in order to go forward. Continue to be a nation, the greatest nation the world has ever seen, America the beautiful, right? We want to maintain that. But your reps are working against you because they keep these borders open and they have millions. And look, it looks like a plan, right? It is a plan to denigrate the United States because you see the mass formations coming in. We could handle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other problem is, and we've talked about this before, so we're not going to expound on it, they go into what when they get here? Marxist indoctrination centers. And then they don't have the same virtues, same American principles, same culture, right? They're taught to hate America instead of love it. So we'll go into that later. But millions of people coming in, factions. Aristotle talked about it, by the way, too, in the book Politics, where what did he say? If you bring in a lot of foreigners, that would be great for a tyrant because they wouldn't have loyalty to the country. So you've got to have the same principles. And that's the main problem with immigration. Trump and others like to talk about crime. The real problem, one of the major problems, it is crime. You need a secure border. The other problem, though, is they come in and go into Marxist indoctrination centers, right? And then we don't share the same American principles. They're actually taught to hate. They're taught critical race theory. They're taught to hate the founding fathers, the history of the country. They don't share our affinity for America and our history. And that's the real issue, right? Originally, you came in to assimilate, become an American and love to be an American. They teach you in school to hate America and hate being American. That's a problem. We won't be able to get along well that way. You've got to have loyalty to this country. So that's politicians and Republicans ignoring you and your wishes. And the House of Representatives should be responding to you, the people. They are servant leaders. Remember, Mitch McConnell was talking about, Dave Harrington, remember Mitch McConnell talking about how important Ukraine's borders are, not even ours. Again, then he goes into sending jobs overseas. Trump has fought to bring manufacturing back and deal with China. Again, we need to lower the regulations and get it back all to the states. EPA is a problem for keeping jobs here. Can't have an agency in an unconstitutional area writing laws. They weren't meant. Only Congress can write laws, not the EPA. That makes them unconstitutional. And it's an unconstitutional agency that should be disbanded. It has no authority. It has no enumerated power. All right, let's go to the next clip.
And Trump changed that by going after the fundamental problems of what really Washington, D.C. cares about. Number one, that we should not import endless foreigners from the third world while our own citizens are suffering. That is number one. Number two, the thing called free trade is a scam to get your garages filled with plastic that you'll never use, while your local factory closes and the school can't make payroll and your community has to become poor, but you're actually getting richer because it's called free trade. And number three, which got him in the most trouble, is that it is not the American Defense Department of Defense's mission statement to try and break other countries, to invade the world and invite the world. The only mandate of the Department of Defense and the US military is to protect our people safe and to make sure that our nation is not under attack. Now, just really quick, those three things are what we call the neoliberal consensus. We use the word uniparty a lot, right? That's the uniparty. This is why Kamala Harris is being endorsed by Dick Cheney, because they agree on those three things.
Okay, it kills cities, kills communities to send all the jobs overseas. We just talked about the immigration part, so we won't go. That's in here as well. We must be competitive with other nations by reducing the regulations and ending the EPA. You can do it through the states, but not the federal government. It's just not an arena for the federal government. And we can make it cheaper elsewhere, so they go overseas.